That was Riding Home with the Reader. Good evening. We are live off the floor at Conquerall Music for the Conquerall Mills Music Show on 88.7 Cove FM and online at covefm.com. Tonight, I am pleased to be featuring the music of guitarist, singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist Caleb Miles.
Once upon a time when trouble was born, his pockets were empty and his heart was torn. He heard the howling winds and the oceans roar, but he didn't have a clue what he was put here for. Trouble, yeah, trouble. Mother said, trouble, don't you stray too far. Your home is where the good things are. But living in a cage didn't make much sense, so he bent the bars and he jumped the fence. Well, trouble, yeah, trouble. Ran 1,000 miles down a dead-end road, ended up with nothing but a crushing load. People wonder what he was looking for, keys to unlock open doors. Well, trouble, yeah, trouble. Stuck without a coat in the wind and rain, he tried to build a fire and burned his hand in the flame. He went to bed early but he woke up late. He missed the boat for the 10th time straight. Trouble, yeah, trouble. Half a mind to give it up, he went looking for water, fill his empty cup. He came to the river and he fell right in, never was heard from or seen again. Well, trouble, well, I'm past the point of no return. Say my prayers to whom they may concern. I thought I learned my lessons and my lessons were through, but when I close my eyes I still see you. Yeah, trouble, yeah, trouble.
And that was Trouble by my guest tonight, Caleb Miles. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us tonight.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I'll start you off with the first question because I can't start you off with the second question. You have lived in quite a few places over the years. Can you describe for us your journey from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Kentucky to Portland, Oregon to Nova Scotia?
Well, let's see. We headed east on I-40 until we got to Little Rock, and then you turn up north to Kentucky. And then we stayed there for 3.5 years. And then we drove west through Denver up into Cheyenne and into Portland, and we lived there for 8.5 years, which felt like 9 years. And then we drove east on I-84 to Salt Lake City, hit I-80, and kept going until we got to Nova Scotia. So,
and what prompted you to come to Nova Scotia from Portland? Why, of all the places that you could have chosen to go to, why Nova Scotia?
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense on paper. Really what it came down to, I think, is, I'll blame it on my wife. She was growing tired, I think, sitting in traffic, trying to get home from work, and really wanted to live in the country again. And we'd sort of explored the Northwest, Oregon, Washington, and into British Columbia as possible options, but never really found we were sort of looking for a small town maybe where I could do music, she could do her job, but, that job had to be available for her to apply for. And, let's see, I remember the day because it was November 4th, 2008, the day or the morning after George W. got reelected, and my wife was just sort of so completely bummed out or disgusted at that she looked online to see what was available, just not only in BC but all throughout Canada, and there just so happened to be this job in Nova Scotia. She applied for it, she got it, and we kind of looked at each other and said, "This is crazy," and moved.
That's great that you came here, and you're probably, based on what's happening south of the border these days, probably maybe happy you made that decision when you made that decision.
I'm feeling a little bit smug. Yeah. It's,
you were ahead of the curve.
For 8 years, people were kind of like, "Oh, don't you wish you could come back here?" And now we've been vindicated. Yes. So, yeah.
Well, I want you to play another tune for us next. I think the next one you're going to play is called Honest Trade. Can you tell me a little bit about the song?
Yeah, this song, I wrote it a long time ago. I wrote it when I was still in my, early mid-20s. And, it was sort of, I guess, imagining, the era of the trains when people would, get on, jump a train,
Yes.
But there weren't any trains to jump anymore. So it was kind of this, that sort of a perspective. And it was a song that wasn't, we may have played it in one of the bands I was in, but, most of the bands that I played in back then were kind of loud. I won't say punk rock, but, it was the 80s.
fast and heavy.
Yeah. So this song was a little light fare. And I it's just one of those songs that got written and then not, just kind of ended up in a notebook somewhere. But after moving here, living in Bridgetown, I started playing at the End of the Line pub, which is used to be the old train station, right? And I heard the whole history of how the train tracks had come out and the Dayliner trains and, the Flying Blue Nose and all this, the Evangeline. And I just, without having gone through the experience of ever having seen those trains run, I missed them, even though I'd never known them. I thought it would be really cool if they were still running. So this tune kind of popped up out of the past as something that was sort of appropriate in a completely different time and different place. Yeah.
Well, the sun, it never shines on my lawn, and dreams before they're here already gone. I'm sitting like a ship out on the sea. The rain won't fall unless it falls on me. But mama, don't you worry, there ain't no train come and carry me. Well, Mona brings the washing from the yard. She caught Uncle Henry off his guard. And Willie's out back playing out his hand. An old shoebox and a rubber band. Mama, don't you worry, them wheels is rusted where they stand. That blues man would take that train to carry him through St. Louis, ride him all along that Santa Fe. But these days if you're hurting, you better sit and lick your wounds if you can't pay. Well, maybe it's time to curb my expectation, unpack my blues where others had it made. Enter my name to win that dream vacation, or find myself some kind of honest trade. Mama, don't you worry, 'cause I wouldn't leave you anyway. Well, the sun, it never shines all night long. Dreams before they're here already gone. Sitting like a ship out on the sea. Rain won't fall unless it falls on me. Mama, don't you worry, there ain't no train come and carry me. Mama, don't you worry, there ain't no train come and carry me. Mama, don't you worry, there ain't no train come and carry me.
Thank you.
That tune was Honest Trade by Caleb Miles. Caleb, you, in addition to being a performer and a songwriter, you also have acted as producer for several local artists. The examples I could think of: Mark Bezanson, Dayliner, James Stevenson, Teresa Porter. Was it difficult to make the transition from performer to producer, or do you feel that that's a logical extension of sort of what you do?
Truth to tell, I've been recording before I was performing, right? Like 13 years old with a little cassette deck and trying to figure out how to overdub on it.
Yes.
And so, pretty much the whole time, borrowing 4-track reel-to-reels, the old TAC 2340s and 3340s. And so I've been tinkering with that stuff. So if somebody says they want me to produce a CD, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't, I can't give you anything
tangible
slick
as to the formula that production takes.
But I love doing it, and we can just dive right in and do it. So there wasn't any issue with that. And like my own CDs, I play all the instruments, I mix them, I master them, I do it all myself. I'm not saying that that's what you should do at home, children. But that I have so much fun doing it that that's what I do.
It would be then fair to say that you started almost as an engineer before you got into performing?
Well, no, I would say I had started recording and then kind of figured out like the engineering stuff like as I went.
Yes, what I mean? What you need to know for the time being, that's what you're going to learn, and then you've got that skill in your toolkit, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, it's the same way I learned to play music. Like I didn't go to school, I didn't take lessons. I just kind of started noodling away and picking at it, and kind of just figured it out. And the same with producing. Like I never worked in a real studio. I never really had anyone show me what to do, which is probably why my recordings sound the way they do.
Well, they sound great. Just the samples that I've listened to, and obviously what you're bringing in here tonight to play for us, it all sounds wicked. So I think you're on the right path, even if you don't necessarily know where that path is going.
No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. That's the part. It's like there's so much, in life you get up and you know that you're supposed to go to your job and you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that. And for me, playing music and recording and producing, a lot of it is, I might have an idea of what I want the song to sound like, but along the way, if something comes up that takes it in a different direction, I'm like more than happy to go off in that direction.
Just roll with it, eh?
Sure, it's like chasing chickens around the yard. Sort of, yeah.
Let's have another song. What are you going to play for us next, Caleb?
I think I'm going to do this song called "Wrong Address Blues." It's a fairly recent tune, and it's exactly what the title says. It's when the blues comes knocking at your door kind of thing. And there's no reason for it. You've got money in the bank and food in the fridge and beers and
all the good stuff.
Everything looks like it's going fine, and yet here comes the blues knocking at your door. Like, what? You must have the wrong address.
Woke up this morning with the blues knocking at my door. Woke up this morning with the blues knocking at my door. Said I didn't send for sadness. Tell me what you come here for. Well, I work long and I work hard, and most times I've been good. I work long and I work hard, and most times I've been good. Got the address wrong, all the time misunderstood. He said the rain will find the river, and the river will find the sea. Rain will find the river, we'll find the sea. Well, it's just your turn to suffer. Pack your bag and come with me. I said I got me a good little girl, and she won't understand. Got me a good little girl, she won't understand. He said, I know that no good woman, right now she's with some other man. I'm gonna write me a letter, gonna mail it to my hometown. Write me a letter, send it back to my hometown. Might not say where I'm going, but I sure won't be hanging round.
That was fantastic. That was The Wrong Address Blues by our performer tonight, Caleb Miles. We are going to take our first break here on the Conquerall Mills Music Show. Please stay tuned for more from Caleb after these messages. Welcome back to Conquerall Music for this evening's episode of the Conquerall Mills Music Show featuring the music of Caleb Miles. I wanted to ask you before the break, but we got a little bit short on tight. You're performing tonight here as a solo performer. Do you find something intrinsically appealing about playing solo, or do you prefer to play in a band?
They're very different. Usually when I play in a band, well, it depends. For most of my career, he said, air quotes. I've been a lead guitar player in like original music bands, original rock bands. Most of the time, the other guy is the singer and songwriter, and so it's just a different job. I currently play drums in a band, and that's like a whole different sort of level of responsibility. Mm-hmm. Playing bass in a band is like just a different job. So it's weird. Playing solo is lonely, I find. Like, I really like to hang out with the drums on stage.
Yes.
And I like the whole loud thing and people getting up and dancing. And, there's like a kinetic kind of energy level that you don't necessarily get solo. But then solo, you can kind of get intense energy by going the other way and getting sort of real quiet and, really delivering the song. It's just a different dynamic, yeah.
So there seems to be, what you're saying is there are pros and cons to each one, but they both sort of sit, solo performance versus playing in a group, both sort of sit equally, but for different reasons.
Doing the solo performing thing is something that I really didn't do very often until I moved here. So really it's been the last 10 years that I've kind of put any sort of concentrated time or effort into doing it. Mm-hmm. And lately, like the last few years, it's just I make more money doing it solo because I don't have to split it with the band, right? And also to find venues that can afford a band, and I don't know, nobody's getting younger. Mm-hmm. And it seems like maybe around here, the folks that dance,
yes,
are, they're getting to the point where dancing is difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just changing times. And I always think back to when I started playing in the 80s, hearing the older guys that I played with saying, wow, it's not like it was back in the 70s, mm-hmm. back in the day. And so then, I'm that guy now saying, it's not like it was back in the 80s and 90s.
It's kind of coming full circle.
Yeah.
Let's have another song, and I see that you've switched instruments for the people who are listening out in radio land. They can't see what you have. Do you mind describing your instrument right quickly there before you play this next tune for us?
Yeah, it's a National Resophonic guitar. It's not an old one. It's sort of a rehashing. I think they got the brand back up in business, and so they're making new resophonic guitars. And this is sort of it's a hybrid guitar in that it's got the single coil, or the single cone, I should say, but then it has these grill openings that you would typically find with a tri-cone guitar. So it's sort of a blend of the two styles of older resophonic guitars.
Well, it's a beauty looking instrument, and I'm interested to hear how it sounds.
Yeah,
so
it's called a Reso Rocket. Yeah, Rocket.
I will turn things back over to you. This tune you're going to play for us next is called Silver Spoon.
Silver spoon gone missing, nowhere to be found. Silver spoon gone missing, snow deep on the ground. Snow deep on the ground. Go and fetch little Mary, the girl with the shifty eye. I know she stole my silver spoon, but I'll take back my prize. Said I'll take back my prize. Where'd you get your pretty new dress? You can't afford no gown. Did you trade my silver spoon to wear it on the town? To wear it on the town. I did not steal no silver spoon, the one that can't be found. My mama made my new dress from a quilt that was handed down. A quilt that was handed down. Fingers they start pointing and accusations made. They put a rope round Mary's neck and they laid her in her grave. They laid her in her grave. And when the snow had melted, the sun shone all around. Silver spoon was laying there on the warm green ground. On the warm green ground.
That was Silver Spoon by my guest tonight, Caleb Miles. Caleb, how did you get your start in playing music? We sort of touched on this a little bit before the break in how you moved sort of from the engineering side into music and performance, but what was the way that you got into music? What was your first experience with that?
Oh, geez. I don't even remember it, but my mom says that she took me to a party when I was probably like 2 years old, and they were playing the hits of the day. Surrealistic Pillow by Jefferson Airplane, The
Nice.
Doors' first record, Donovan, and Revolver by the Beatles. And she said I just flipped out. I was just bouncing up and down and having a great time. So, and basically I've been listening to Revolver since then. Like I can't remember a time when that record hasn't been, in my life, and just listening to Beatles as a kid. I probably, when I was like 4 or 5, I decided I was going to somehow replace Ringo Starr in the band. I wasn't sure like how they were going to, like what he would be doing in the band, but they were basically waiting for me to grow up and join the band. And then when I was 5, they broke up, and that was pretty much my first music career disappointment.
Oh.
Yeah. And then when I was 10, I was given a guitar, and that coincided with me moving to Taos, New Mexico, which is sort of at the time anyway, it was sort of a small town. We actually lived outside, like 10, 15 miles outside of town. No car, no, phone, no friends, no Atari video games. And so, I don't know. I read all the books in the house, and I just picked up this thing, and I started, I didn't really I wasn't trying to become a musician. I was just, it was just a game for me to like figure out how to go, right? Boom, 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 boom. Okay, boom, boom, no, boom, 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 right?
Yeah.
And so I just started figuring out all these different parts of Beatles tunes, and after a few years, I don't know, somebody noticed that that's what I was doing with my time, and they got me a real acoustic guitar, and then I worked for a summer, got an electric guitar. And when I was 15, these pretty, I don't know, these folks, freaks, moved in next door to the duplex where we lived. They literally heard me playing through the wall. I would come home from after school and crank my Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd records and play along with them. And they heard me playing, and they were putting a band together, and they drafted me.
That's awesome.
I was recruited into my first band. I really had no idea. I wasn't thinking along those lines of like, I thought you had to go to London, England to form a band. I thought you had to like, all the bands that I knew of were from England.
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't think there were bands in Albuquerque, but I found myself in one, and very quickly sort of experienced the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing.
And that must have been exciting as a young person.
Yeah. I guess it was exciting. It was and strange. Yeah.
What are you going to play for us next, Caleb?
What am I going to play here? Let me. I'm going to do a little instrumental if I can get this thing back in tune.
Sure. Does it? Does this one have a name?
We're calling this one Satya, Satya. This is named after a very good friend of mine, and I think Satya is Sanskrit for truth. Yeah.
That was very pretty sounding, and so I don't botch the pronunciation of that. What did you say the name of that song was called?
Satya.
Satya. That was Satya by Caleb Miles, played on his lovely resophonic guitar. Briefly, before I get you to play one more song, you most recently released an album called Dividing Lines. Can you tell me a bit about the inspiration behind that album and how that came into being?
Well, I had enough songs to record another album, and that was it. Yeah, it's not a very exciting answer.
You just had lots of songs and they needed to be put onto a medium.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what I do. If I have enough songs that I like well enough to record, I just record them, and you need 10 or 11 or 12 of them. So when I have that many, that's when I get a new CD.
Is it just a matter of having all those tunes to draw from, or will you specifically say you have, say, 15 or 20 tunes and you know that they're not all going to go on an album? Will you go through and select ones to sort of create a theme, or do you just go by feeling and which ones you like the best? Those are the ones that go on there.
No, probably the opposite. I probably, if I think I have like the first three songs, like three songs that I think they might not end up being the first three songs, but if I hear them as the first three songs, and I'm pretty aware of like songs that are sort of floating around.
Yes.
And I think there's, enough to kind of get started, I'll go. Like a good example is my CD Memory Well. I started recording that, and I got, I had a pretty clear idea of what I thought was going to be on there, and I recorded like the first, 4 or 5 tunes, and then I went on this trip. I went back to Albuquerque, I went back to Oregon, came home, and there was literally, I walked through the door from the airport, and there was a message on my phone that my dad had died. So I got back on the plane and went to San Diego and dealt with that. And so when I came back, like basically the rest of the CD ended up being very different because all of a sudden I'd written all these other tunes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like I said with producing a song, like the same thing. It's like if I think there's, the bulk of the tunes are there, I'll pretty much wait until there's maybe 8, or 7 or 8 or something, and start recording. And either I'll dig up old ones to fill it out, or new ones get written. Lots of times that happens, and often the tune that ends up, like I'll think there's the first tune on the CD, it'd be the first one that I record, and usually it ends up not being the first tune. Usually the last tune I write ends up being, that's happened several times where the last tune I write, like in the midst of recording, ends up being the first tune on the CD. So yeah, it's kind of, like when chickens go broody. Mm-hmm. They're laying eggs all the time, but then every once in a while they gather them up and they sit on them, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel like, there's a bunch of new songs that I haven't really been playing them or thinking about them. They're just in notebooks and on cassettes, and I'll just get this thing of like, it's time, and I'll start recording and kind of go through and collect these. It's like Easter egg hunting. They're hiding. And sometimes I find songs that I'd forgotten about that are quite, they're good.
Nice to dig those out and share them with the world. We have time for one more song before our last break. What are you going to play for us next, Caleb?
I'm going to play a song called Dream Come True. So this was written when I was, again, sort of a younger man looking, sort of writing it from the perspective of an older guy looking back on his youth. And now I'm an older guy looking back on the younger guy who wrote a song about an older guy looking back at his youth.
When I was younger, so full of dreams, expectation bursting at the seams. told my mama, told my daddy too. Gotta make my way now, make my dream come true. Keep seeking something that I never found, amid the ruin and the rubble. What I need is what I left behind. Make my way through trial and trouble, oh yeah, dream come true. Well, Mama, she told me, do good, my son. Papa, he said to me, you better walk then run. But where in this earth now can a poor boy go? Where might no hypocrite's rain be falling, where might no ill wind blow? Keep seeking something that I never find, amid the ruin and the rubble. If what I need is what I left behind, make my way through trial and trouble, oh yeah, dream come true. People, they may say, what you waiting for? As if this whole wide world is an open door. Well, I bang my head against that wall so many times. I just wanna break out of this place, if you don't mind. I keep seeking something that I never find, amid the ruin and the rubble. If what I need is what I left behind, I'll make my way through trial and trouble. Keep seeking something that I never find, amid the ruin and the rubble. If what I need is what I left behind, make my way through trial and trouble, oh yeah, dream come true, dream come true, dream come true, dream come true, dream come true.
And just for the folks who are listening at home, what was the name of that one?
Dream Come True.
Dream Come True by Caleb Miles. We are going to take one more break on the Conquerall Mills Music Show, and we will be back with more music from Caleb after these messages. We are back live off the floor at Conquerall Music with my guest tonight, Caleb Miles. I just wanted to say thank you again for being on the show this evening, Caleb.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Let's have your next song. This is Last Call by Caleb Miles.
Miles to go, and nothing to lose. Holes in the soles of your walking shoes. Right about now you feel your faith's been shaken. Come as you are to the bar of the lost and forsaken. Tears and regret, you've had your fill. If death don't get you, then living will. Don't even mention the time that it's taken. Time passes slow at the bar of the lost and forsaken. Clock keeps ticking, you can't go to sleep. The dreams you let fly and the nightmares you keep. We all wear the mask, we all pretend we're not faking. We've saved you a seat at the bar of the lost and forsaken. Clock keeps ticking and you can't fall asleep. The dreams you let fly and the nightmares you keep. You might think that you're alone, but you'd be mistaken. We're packing them in at the bar of the lost and forsaken. You ask for selection, man, you've got nerve. 'Cause bitter dregs is all that we serve. But there's plenty of friends here for the making. Come raise your glass at the bar of the lost and forsaken. At the bar of the lost and forsaken.
And that tune was Last Call by Caleb Miles. Caleb, you draw on a variety of genres to create your sound. Can you tell me who you feel your biggest influence is on your music, and why do you feel that they're the biggest influence on your music?
Well, that's like such a simple question to ask. And, I mean, that ranges from, I would have to say the Beatles, just as a kid, growing up to them, they were, the be all and end all of everything beyond music, But then, just everything I've ever heard and loved. I mean, the things that get in there early on are always going to stay with you. When I was 11, 12, before I discovered Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, I discovered the Doobie Brothers, and I know all those solos note for note. And even though I, might be a little embarrassed these days to say, I wouldn't say I'm a Doobie Brothers fan anymore, but sometimes when I hear my, a solo that I play, and I'm like, yep, that's like total Tom Johnson rip, I think part of the thing, about playing for me is actually listening out for people who I think I can use as an influence, right? And so, you might end up in a country band someday, so you're going to want to listen to some country players, and there's jazz guys that I love, Grant Green, Wes Montgomery, but I love, James Burton and Steve Cropper. Jerry Garcia is a huge influence on me. Richard Thompson is a huge influence. And those are just guitar players, like drummers, bands.
You could go on and on.
We could go on, and plus I worked in record stores for like 12, 15 years. So that's a whole other thing of just, even if I wasn't playing, I would be listening to music. And,
having access to all the inventory in the store. I'm sure you probably put albums on to listen to while you were working and things like that.
Oh yeah, and seeking stuff out. And it's funny, I would say in the mid 80s, I pretty much lost interest in contemporary music, and started listening to, the roots of Beatles and Stones, and getting back into Chuck Berry and Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, and tracing that all the way back to, Kokomo Arnold, or, Gus Cannon, Memphis Jug Band and stuff like this.
Yes.
You kind of hit a wall around 1928 where, before which they had not yet invented recording, right?
Yeah.
And then coming back up the other way through listening to jazz and I find that there's just so much there to listen to that I really don't have much. I don't really listen to anything much beyond, 1978.
Sounds like you've got plenty to keep you going. There was a lot of music produced, and a lot of people would argue that 60s, 70s was sort of the heyday of music production and creation. So
I would say
you got lots of great stuff to draw from for sure.
Yeah.
Caleb, what are you going to play for us next?
I thought I'd play a song called Portland Rain. It's off my Memory Well CD. And it goes like this.
I'm standing outside the station, waiting on a train. Get me out of Albuquerque and take me back home again. A suitcase and $10, and a life gone down the drain. There's only one thing I know that can soothe this pain. The Portland rain. She said this isn't working. I could see that for myself. Not another word was spoken. The last hand had been dealt. Then the entire situation exploded in my mind, and I just left her sitting there. I didn't even say goodbye. In the Portland rain. In the Portland rain. I've been up and down this road, and it's a hard highway. Nashville to El Paso, Las Cruces to LA. Seen friends of mine whose happiness was 3 kids and a wife. I could not be tied down to that kind of life. It's time to move on before winter rolls around. The leaves are falling early, color carpeting the ground. Kick back and lay low and let time heal my wounds. There's a woman there I know, and I'd like to see her soon. In the Portland rain. The Portland rain. Portland rain.
Thank you.
And that tune was Portland Rain by Caleb Miles. We are getting near the end of the show, Caleb, so I've got a relatively simple last question to ask you, a series of questions, I should say. Do you currently have any projects on the go, either producing or playing in bands, things like that?
Yeah, I actually took time off this winter from doing the solo acoustic thing. And have been, the main thing that's been going on is I am recording and co-producing a new CD for Jamie Younger, who lives in New Ross.
Awesome. Also a host on Cove and also going to be featured on the show in the summertime, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's, I'm liking it. I hope he's liking it. It's psychedelic, what it is, and some great songs. He's got some great songs on there. I also play drums in a band called Dayliner, sort of an indie rock band. We would have been extremely popular and successful if we had been working in Seattle in 1994 or 5. And we're playing at Patty's tomorrow night, actually, Saturday night, which might be the past when this show is airing. I don't know. And then I'm playing guitar in a band called Kickin' Mule Band. It used to be the Kickin' Mule Blues Band, but we've kind of made it a little bit more. There's still lots of blues in there, and there's some sort of, I don't know, Steppenwolf era, kind of early rock.
Nice.
Some garagey kind of stuff. And also I was working on playing guitar on a new CD that Andy Flynn is producing up with Scott Hutman
Excellent.
and Gasparo. So.
Sounds like you've got stuff to keep yourself busy for a while.
Yeah. It's always it's nice to that's the thing. I just kind of float wherever this weird and wonderful river takes me. And today I'm in Conquerall Mills.
And if people want to learn more about you or have the opportunity to listen to samples of your music and stuff that you've done, where can they go get
Call
that
me.
information?
Take me out to dinner. I've got a website. It's calebmiles.net, and that's CALEBMILES.net. I know around here you like to spell the Mileses with Y's, and that's not how I do it.
I'll make sure too that when this episode goes to air, the posting will include contact information for you as well, so people can then go hop on the Facebook page and connect with you if they're looking to hear more stuff or get some more information from you.
Awesome.
So unfortunately, we are coming to the close of the show. What is the last song you're going to play for us tonight, Caleb?
I was going to do a tune called Broke Down.
Broke down in the middle of the road. I'm broke down in the middle of the road. Broke down in the middle of the road. Won't you help me push it out of the road? Won't you help me push it out of the road? I drove 1,000 miles to escape my blood. When I get here, I found you drowned in the flood. Now my back wheel's down deep in the mud. Won't you help me push it out of the road? Won't you help me push it out of the road? Well, yonder come a man, he walking up to me, says, I can help you, son, if you can meet my feet. Take you up the river, but my service ain't free. If you pay me, I can carry your load. If you pay me, I can carry your load. Broke down in the middle of the road. I broke down in the middle of the road. I broke down in the middle of the road. Won't you help me push it out of the road? Help me push it out of the road. Well, now a pretty woman come across my path. I asked her for $1. She says, don't make me laugh. 'Cause I could give you loving, but you better make it fast. 'Cause my husband, he's a-waiting up the road. Yeah, my husband, he's a-waiting up the road. He's waiting. Shut down company store, I found me a mule and a length of old rope. With tears in my eyes and a heart full of hope, I went back to the old crossroads. Back to the old crossroads. The sheriff and his boys, they were waiting there for me. Says, we got you on charges of petty pilfery, on payment of debt and adultery, and you're blocking all the traffic in the road. Yeah, you're blocking all the traffic in the road. They took me to the judge. Here's what the judge said. We don't like your looks, we don't like your ways. You could get off on fines, but you got no way to pay. You threw me in the slammer for 99 days, left it sitting in the middle of the road. Left it in the middle of the road. When I got out, I was just about cracked. I had nowhere to go, there was no turning back. I staked me a claim and I built me a shack right in the middle of the road. Right in the middle of the road. I broke down in the middle of the road. I broke down in the middle of the road. I broke down in the middle of the road. Won't you help me push it out of the road? Help me push it out of the road. I broke down in the middle of the road. I broke down in the middle of the road. I broke down in the middle of the road. Won't you help me push it out of the road? Won't you help me push it out of the road? Won't you help me push it out of the road? Won't you help me push it out? Lord, help me push it out of the road.
And that last one was broke down by our guest tonight, Caleb Miles. Caleb, I wanted to say one more time, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your music with us tonight. Let's give him another round.
Thank you.
The Conquerall Mills Music Show is hosted, produced, and mixed by Stefan Ramey, and our engineer in the control room tonight is Adam Fancy. To hear previous episodes of the Conquerall Mills Music Show, please visit our YouTube channel at Conquerall Music, and don't forget to subscribe and like our videos. You have been listening to the Conquerall Mills Music Show on 88.7 CKVE Cove FM and online at covefm.com. Please keep the dial on, Cove, for Time Machine with Bob McDonald at 9 p.m. Have a good evening, folks.